What is going on, everybody? We are back once again with another edition of Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. It's Sunday, December 29th, almost a new year. The world basically just ended last night, as we saw on AEW's Worlds End. I'm stoked. We're going to break it down here on the daily broadcast. I'm Clark Taylor, and I've got a sweet panel hanging out with me today. First and foremost, I'm going to send this one straight out to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. To our head of opinions, Anthony Ricciardi. What's going on this morning, my friend, or afternoon for you?
Yeah, how you doing, Clark? Yeah, this is always fun to do. The last paper review of 2024 for us, and kind of an eventful night. And I can't wait to get into it with you guys.
I'm excited to talk about it too. Let's do it, no doubt. Up next, let's keep it in North America here, but go north of the border, where it's obviously snowy. If anyone had a white Christmas, it's this guy. But head of reviewing, Coby Galenzoski's in the building. What's going on, my friend?
Well, it wasn't cold actually, but it was actually very nice.
Borderline tropical, I would
right
imagine.
now. But of course, World's End happened last night. It was actually a really good show, and I thought for a company that always put a lot of fluff on their pay-per-view cards, this really didn't have it. Each match had a reason to be on the show. There wasn't a decline in quality because of some matches not needing to be on the show. It was from start to finish just a really a solid show. I thought one of the better shows they've put on this year. I think
100%. I'm excited to get into it, but we can't get into it without one more. The host of Take It to the Table, an absolute original himself. It's an RC Sunday, maybe a first time ever outside of a Fun Day card. We got Chaos in the building. What's good? Also, who's that guy that wrote that intro? That thing's catchy.
Oh my gosh, I don't know, but he needs a raise and needs actual, some recognition up in here. But yeah, happy Sunday, everybody. This is my first review show in a long while. I always tend to miss these, but I'm here talking about World's End, and yeah, I couldn't agree more. This is definitely one of the one of the perfect ways to cap off an excellent year of wrestling from all promotions. And yeah, this pay-per-view pretty much is going to make my top 10 list of best pay-per-views even harder to even pick, as that's going to be coming up soon on the next episode of Take It to the Table, as well as the worst and disappointing pay-per-views. So be sure to look out for that. But yeah, that is then. This is now. Let's talk about World's End, shall we?
Absolutely. And before we get into it, let's run through these comments really quick. We got Drizzy Martin. What's good? Happy birthday, Big Driz. Absolutely with yo. We got Numero One Superfly with hello. What's going on, Numero One? Good to have you as always. My mom with the snowflakes for Coby there. And then Soul with chaos. Keep demanding things and you'll get replaced by AI. That's pretty
We're all going to get replaced by AI. Don't worry. Ben Allison is working on that. He's going to replace all of us.
I mean, if anybody would know, it would be Soul.
And then we got Drizzy with really good show last night. We've also got over on Instagram. It's Z3110K says, does nobody watch y'all? No, that's you. You're confused. Nobody watches you.
The island of irrelevancy's number one resident is that guy.
Nobody's watching you. Yes, thank you for the love from Drizzy. Let's get into the show, though. Let's talk about last night's pay-per-view. Love the timing of this. I want to start with that, by the way, because there's always that weird gap between Christmas and New Year. I call it the dead space. Like you just lose days.
Awesome game, by the way.
Look at the date every single time, right? It's just
no one knows what day or time it is.
It could be any day. Could be any day of the week. I looked up and was like, oh my goodness, the NFL's on. Oh yeah, it's Sunday. Awesome. This was a really, really smart positioning. You don't have a WWE major pay-per-view or PLE, I guess, during this month. Essentially, yes, you had Saturday night's main event, but it was good positioning, and I enjoyed having something to watch during that time. I loved that. Continental Classic, I thought this year also was better executed than last somehow, and I really actually like that we got the two matches in one night factor here. Mm-hmm. It's fun. It's underutilized in wrestling. Let's break down the first two. Out of the gates, of course, we've got Ospreay in an absolute war with Kyle Fletcher. Mm-hmm. Blood early and dripping blood. Coby, I watched it with you and Anthony for that matter, but I mean that was a deep cut.
Crimson Mask.
And it was one of those visuals that was great. It was a great way to open the show. It was a hot opening. I think we all were under the same impression about Okada and Ricochet following it. As good as the match was, there was almost no following Fletcher and Ospreay.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, while the post-match stuff with Swerve was very fun and entertaining, I enjoyed it. It's childish, it's games, whatever, but there's time and place for that in wrestling, and I was fine with where it was. It was creative too with the passing out the toilet paper. I found it fun. Then in the finals, we get Okada. One thing I wanted to point out from last night, I love that commentary did, is they continually pointed to him being arguably the greatest tournament wrestler of all time. I really liked how commentary went out of their way to build that up. That was a huge plus. And so I guess now that I'm kind of listing things, I'm starting with some of the positives here. That was a huge plus. The Ospreay promo with the smile in the back, knowing that he's bleeding, hitting his own head through the bandage to make the blood come through the bandage and all of that. I really did enjoy. I thought this was well done in the between time to remind you to look forward to Ospreay and Okada, which is a match that, many people would pay money to see, no doubt, if you could have put it on the poster beforehand. We weren't sure that would be the case headed into the night. I thought the execution of the main event match was solid, but there's a lot here. It was the highlight of the night to me, all three matches. If you really think about it, the story being told, and I do think it overshadowed some of the stuff the rest of the night. I'm going to start with you, Chaos, on this one because you're going last. So I'm starting with Chaos this time. What were your thoughts on the Continental Classic as a whole, the future of the Continental Classic, and then how they broke it all down last night?
Boy, what a night of for the Continental Classic. It definitely, in my opinion, revitalized the importance of that title. Obviously, when it comes to tournaments, everyone loves a good tournament, and but yeah, I think everyone can overall agree that the prestige or the relevancy of that title has pretty much lost its spark ever since they merged it with the ever since Eddie Kingston dropped it, basically. And I think they did the big merging with one championship and another one. I can't remember which one, but yeah, the tournament was great all around. I think we might have to dive in and see if which Continental Classic is better, this year's one or last year's, because there was some bangers last year and there was some bangers this year's. But yeah, going back to the card, I mean, I agree. The two matches in one card thing is definitely it's a rarity these days, but it just brought back that King of the Ring feel. And like I said, it's been a while that we've seen that, so this was a nice little taste of what we used to get. And yeah, Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher, very hard to follow up. Beautiful match. It was great. Ricochet and Okada had a good match with themselves. Obviously, it was, like I say, it was going to be a bit tricky for them to follow up. But the most memorable part for me was obviously with regarding Swerve and Ricochet. And obviously he gets the double whammy. Not only he loses, but he gets the streamers post match instead of the beginning, as you would in New Japan. But yeah, no, the final, Ospreay and Okada. Oh my goodness! Am I right to say that they've never fought again? They must have fought in New Japan, surely.
I believe it's like maybe one match. I don't think it's as many as maybe you would guess.
Ricochet?
No, Ospreay and Okada.
Oh no, they're. I think after last night, I think they said Ospreay's.
Yeah,
Okada's 9-2. So yes, they have.
Yeah. He's only won 2. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. You just say that. So yeah, no. Yeah, this was the fact that I've never seen them face before. This felt fresh for me and more exciting for me, and I definitely benefited from that. And yeah, the final sequence was just beautiful counters, man. Something that you would see in 2K24. It was just absolutely crazy, and the right person won. And I think I said it in the last episode that I think AEW would love to have their own version of Okada and Omega, which is definitely going to be happening down the line. By the looks of it, they might be waiting till All In Texas. From what I could, that's what I'm assuming, because like the angles that they were showing and all this stuff, I don't know how they're going to make it stretch out till that far. But
absolutely.
But either way, I'm excited for it, and yeah, great way for him to cap off.
So, Coby, were you on the ratings last night? I wanted to ask you about this too, to follow that up.
Of course.
Yes,
I'm always
that's what I
on the
figured.
ratings.
And of the three matches,
Yo.
hey, I haven't read the article yet. Don't get me wrong. I hung out with you the whole time you were doing it for moral support. So give me a break here. But we've got 3 matches that you rated last night. You don't have to give away the numbers. But of the 3, did you prefer actually the opener between Ospreay and Fletcher or the final match? That is something I want to ask. Without giving away the number, give me your opinion on that.
Well, I'm not going to give away the number, and that's the biggest thing here.
We know you're not giving away the number. Dang it.
To me, the thing that stood out to me was the finish, and the opener of course, was Fletcher and Ospreay 2 in terms of pay-per-view matches. They had the one singles match on a Dynamite. If you want to count that, maybe not, but they're obviously not, because you had Ospreay go 1-1. I think it was an abrupt ending for the opener. It made sense. It was nice, but it still left more to be desired. And I think that's the point, because they're set, like I said, they're going, you had Ospreay go, well, we're 1-1. So there's obviously a future match down the line. There's obviously going to be room for Ospreay Fletcher, 3/4. And that's the interesting part here. To me, Okada and Ospreay, yes, it's not their first match of the year. They had one in January, but it's their first match in AEW, and I'm sure it's the first of many. I'm sure they will have several in the future, but it was what it needed to be. It was great. It was enjoyable, and I think the finish was satisfying because we had the near falls that needed to continue to build momentum. And of course, the sequence that resulted in the Rainmaker for the win gave you a real shock value, because he won the match with his finisher. Ospreay winning with a Styles Clash isn't, I don't want to say ideal or anything like that, but it's not something we always see in that sense. But it worked in that moment. It worked with him sneaking a victory as a bloodied mess to get to Okada, or to get to the finals.
Right.
To me, the one thing is yes, I will correct Chaos for a moment. They never merged any titles. They were he was kind of defending them, but like they never officially turned 3 championships into one. He had three championships, lost it to Okada, lost the Ring of Honor to Mark Briscoe, and then lost the New Japan Strong to Gabe Kidd. So they never merged them.
They
so TK was getting crap then. You definitely say he was going to merge something.
Yeah, well,
they called it some form of Triple Crown, but that was it. It was never one championship. It was championships.
It was not.
He would defend
exactly communicate it correctly. It was very vague. Yeah. I understand why Chaos would be confused in that, because I think we all were.
Yeah. Totally fair there. Okay. Before we do move on to the rest of the card, though, Anthony, I want to talk about the one stone left unturned, the one thing we didn't talk about when it comes to this Continental Classic last night, and that's the return of Kenny Omega to deliver that title. I thought this was big news. Personally, I projected that he would be, probably the guy for Moxley at some point. Okada, Omega, we know the history. We know it. Yeah. Or at least if you don't, go back and Google it, because it's there.
Yeah.
And it's big. The stare down was intense. I loved it. He was there being an EVP. It's good to see him back. Diverticulitis is such a serious thing. To overcome that is awesome.
Yeah.
I love the idea of Omega and Okada. I do still feel like there's Omega Moxley stuff that can be told. I don't know. What are your thoughts on it, Anthony?
My very quick thoughts with the Continental Classic. I said this on the prediction show. I'd honestly do away with the belt as a year-round defending title. I treat it like a King of the Ring or the Owen, where you kind of you go through the tournament. The tournament's a bigger deal than the belt, because the belt really hasn't mattered. The Kenny Omega return, we knew he was coming back. Obviously, they advertised him in New Japan that he was coming back. The Okada thing, Okada obviously needs somebody to feud with. the Bucks kind of left, and he's just kind of left with a middle finger and a catchphrase at this point, and a title. So Kenny coming back and the stare down. I know there was a bit of disagreement in the watch party with this. I still feel that they were leaning more on their history in Japan than they were the fact that on screen Okada was a part of the Elite taking Kenny out. I really don't think I think they're kind of ignoring that and going, listen, we all know that was a bad storyline. Let's just focus on the history, because the announcers kept going, oh, is he there as an EVP or a competitor? Because he kept looking at the belt and kept looking at Okada. There's history there. They're rivals. I think that's what it was based on. Yes, it's a tease. I think they're going to go more the EVP route with him, at least on TV, to probably try to stretch this out. At some point, they're going to face each other. I know they've also teased Omega with Takeshita because of the Don factor. Yeah. Obviously, Moxley is now the flavor of the month, trying to take over the company since the Bucks walked away. So, yeah, he's potentially an option there. But I think Kenny's dance card is either going to be Takeshita or Okada. I don't know in which order, but at some point, those are probably the first two, will be my guess.
I think that is completely fair, Anthony, and I'm with you on that for sure. Obviously, we have a lot to break down today, though, so let's keep it rolling and let's move on to the rest of the card. And it's going to be a quick fire type segment when Ben gives us the graphic for just rest of the card. Like, I mean, that could be anything. But let's start with Thunder Rosa challenging Mariah May for the AEW Women's World Championship out of the gates in a Tijuana street fight. Thunder Rosa's dad is awesome. I want to say that first and foremost. He's the man. Loved that. Was there for the early show. Was there for the first half. He was there from the start, sitting in the front row, ready to go. And I love that. The use of his cane was wild, because I'm pretty confident that was his real cane.
And a killer mustache, too, by the way.
Oh, one of the best stashes you've ever seen.
AEW smart, I would license a salsa with his picture on it, because you could make so much money on that.
Immediately, this guy's a stud. No, there's no question about it. He brought the dirt from the Tijuana graveyards. Mariah May was able to use it against Thunder Rosa. I thought that was a nice touch. It did, though. Chaos, I see you. That's kind of why I brought it up. Kind of missed. It didn't look like it got in her eyes. It didn't look like it got in her eyes.
It was a bit cringe.
An attempt was made.
The thumbtack spot was off the charts. The thumbtack spot was great. And that pile driver through the table was pure violence. I'll say that. But the idea of the dirt was so great on paper and such good storytelling. It just needed to get in her eyes. Like, it needed to
it definitely stunk. It definitely stunk of Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior in WCW.
Yeah.
Not as bad, but it was a tinge.
It wasn't great. But Chaos, I'm going to go to you about this one. What did you think about Thunder versus Mariah May? I mean, this has been a heck of a run for Mariah May. There's no doubt about that.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, she's definitely one of my favorite women's champions in AEW for quite some time. I'll just say it right here. And yeah, she showed her worth. And yeah, like at first I wasn't really feeling this match because me personally, I don't see where the hype is with Thunder Rosa. I mean, like her best run was her against Britt Baker during the with the street fight and all that. I thought that was her peak, and right up until she finally won the women's championship on a random episode of Dynamite. Well, it wasn't random; it was in her hometown, but it was ever since then. I just felt like she just kind of plateaued, and then obviously stuff happened and all that stuff. So, yeah, at first I was kind of over it, but she definitely won back my my respect on this match, and they definitely put in the work, and they left no stone unturned. Good spots, nothing too cringe, nothing too OTT, and it didn't feel formulaic, like they were just going through the paces. As it usually would with these for Falls Count Anywhere matches, it didn't feel like a spot fest. It definitely felt natural, and it just flowed better. And yeah, they have good chemistry. Like I said, the ending with the mist, like I said, it sounded good on paper. It would have been perfect, but then obviously all that madness happened. But yeah,
the throw was tough because she was throwing it up, so it didn't really I don't know how to explain it other than like gravity messed up the spot because like she threw the dirt up, it went down so quick. It's like she didn't get any of that in her eyes. Like,
what goes up must come down.
Yeah, it's like you know what I mean. It was like that didn't get in her eyes. That like maybe hit her in the face.
Yeah,
but like I don't know. I'm with you there. That's the only thing that, because there was such a cool. I mean, the fact that it was a handful from Tijuana Graveyards. She took it from the dad. Like there was a lot of good intention there. It's just like one little
the table spot was
on
great.
The throw.
The table spot was awesome too. When she ran up the table and jumped off of it, I thought that was a nice.
Was that a Storm Zero? That was a Storm Zero, wasn't it?
The final one was yes.
The drop kick.
The drop kick.
The drop kick.
Oh, sorry, the drop
kick. Yeah.
But the finish was Storm Zero. Yes.
Yeah.
But let's keep it rolling here because again, like we've got a lot to break down.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the Dynamite Diamond Ring. I wanted it. I got it.
Mm-hmm.
MJF. Emphasis on the MJ. 6 rings. Now we're talking. What the heck were they thinking after the match? Now we beat up Max with a bunch of big old friendship club. Max is the babyface again. We just did a double turn, and I only like double doubles from In and Out. Like it's
not a sponsor yet.
Just like, God damn it!
It's not.
Hey, that's a West Coast thing. I didn't have it when we were out there.
I'm just telling you, like, it's not. I don't get it. But Max gets his 6th ring, and that's what counts to me. Anthony, I'm going to you. Can you solve this one for me?
They were trying to polish a turd. That was this entire storyline. Literally last year, Adam Cole was revealed as the devil. This year, we have to cheer him like he's a babyface. Why? The devil's the good guy now? None of this made any sense. And they're fighting for a ring that means literally nothing to Adam Cole. And quite frankly, if Max would have lost it, he would have been annoyed, but he's got 5 others. So I don't really think he'd be that hard up with it. This is a storyline that needed to end. It should have never continued once they did the turn. They should have ended when he kicked them in the nuts and dropped them, and they all moved on with their merry way, but they insisted on doing this anyway. I'm hoping this is the end of it, but this is like the Finn Damian Priest situation where it's just not going to end. It was not their best match. Adam did not look his best. You know, there were several points where we thought, oh, they're going to turn the kingdom on him. No, they're all friends now. So now they have a whole unit, despite the fact that Adam had to fight all of them pretty much to get to Max in the first place. And, you know, Max is left with his ring and he's beaten down. I don't think Max cares. Max got his ring. He won. Did Adam really win anything out of that? No. None of this made any sense. I'm just hoping it's the end of it, but I'm fearful. It will not be the end of it.
Yeah, like, to your point, what did Adam get? His friends back? Like, it was like, that was the weirdest part is like, so he lost. And then it was like, oh, actually, his friends do still like him now. Is that the story they told us like last night?
It's the equivalent of you went to a party and you left with the same jacket you came with. You got nothing out of this.
He lost the match, but his buddies still like him.
The crowd crapped over it as well. They were like, they were cheering for MJF at the end.
Yes,
It made no sense. And one other small thing is, you know, they kind of spoiled the ending considering the fact that Pro Wrestling Tees and AEW Shop released a Dynamite Diamond Ring that only comes in MJF size, and they've been selling it for this year. So were they really going to give it to Adam?
Yeah.
God damn it, TK.
They get through, people.
Woof.
Try to defend that one.
The Undisputed Kingdom era. Stop it. It was an episode of Care Bears after the match. Like, it makes no sense. It's like, oh, look, we're all
They hugged it
again.
out, Clark. They hugged it out.
Hey, guys, we get along now because we don't like MJF, and it made me like MJF more. 6 rings. Take that.
Again, it was a turd that was impossible to polish.
Yeah. I'll never forget. I'll never forget that promo that Cole did. I think it was just when he came back. He just literally shrugged his shoulders. It was just like, this is going to be crap, but just go along with it. Let's just get over it.
You guys just hang on tight. This is going to be over before you know it. It was like getting a shot at the doctor.
It was like a root canal. It was the dentist. It was the dentist
going,
it'll be over soon. Don't worry.
Yeah, they give you like the little antibacterial wipe. And then they're like, don't worry, it's just going to be 1 second. Inject. And they poke you all hard. That's exactly how it went down, to be honest.
Oh my god. And then moving on, something better.
Yeah, let's talk about we got meat chance during Hobbs versus Takeshita, which I think is probably the biggest compliment Takeshita's ever gotten in his entire career. The guy's worked hard, don't get me wrong. He's going to the same guy as Orton for sure. But either way, the match was two big dudes getting after it. Kobe, I don't know.
Going to Kobe for meat slapping. Is that what you're going to do?
I loved a lot about last night. This is not something that I was in love with. So say nice things if you can.
I think it was just underwhelming. The biggest thing is that because I know the year Takeshita's had, he was Ospreay's first opponent as an signed AEW star at Revolution. He had the run in the G1. He's went on and won the international championship, and then he's had two pay-per-view stinkers. The Ricochet match was just fine, but nothing special. And this, aside from it being like, okay, well, we're going to work on Hobbs' knee and we're going to work with that, it just felt underwhelming. We had the kick out at 1 for no reason other than the fact that Hobbs is a big guy. I think the shirt was big, black, and jacked. That is his catchphrase, and I think that is true. He's big and strong, and I think that Takeshita has the size, and that's why we were getting meat chance. But this just, I don't know. I don't think it was as good as everyone else is saying. I liked the focus on the knee because that is the injury, and that is what kept him away. But then it was like, okay, well, if we're gonna take off the knee brace, why are we gonna end it a minute later with a front face lock guillotine into the raging fire, Falcon Arrow? Like it felt anticlimactic. Like to be fair, I think there are better elements in MJF and Adam Cole than this match.
That is kind of where I'm at, and it's funny because Numero and Superfly, who much love my friend, he said Hobbs versus Takeshita was a really good match. I think there was some good in it. Sorry, I didn't show that one. The Hobbs Takeshita was a really good match, is what Superfly said, and
still a valid question, Cal.
Here's my thing: is I don't think it was terrible. That spot up on the turnbuckle with the knee.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, there were so many slow down spots in this one. I thought it was just like
if this is one of the matches that if people are going to run anti AEW accounts, they're going to be able to edit this and piece this apart and go, oh, we're the best wrestle, and mock the tagline they've been promoting. There's bad things in this match. I think that's what stands out to you.
The Adam Cole MJF one is still the worst. I'm sorry.
I don't think it's the worst match.
At least the match, I don't think it was the worst. But the match was better wrestled.
Not
a good conversation.
I saw a safer
bad in various ways.
I saw a safer match. I saw good psychology. I saw good crowd work. MJF got his heat in the match. He did his job. He's the heel. I think there's better. I came out of MJF and Adam Cole thinking, okay, I think it's done now because that Undisputed King is tall, and then I don't think MJF is gonna try to get friends now because that goes against his character.
I think
I don't trust anyone now.
I think before we head to our next subject, which is Monet and Statlander, we're gonna need just a brief palate cleanser. So I'll do my best on that one. let's talk about Demand Progress Plus. Great psychology when it comes to in-ring work here, and you're going to love the tape library. And not only that, we're going to give you a discount on the first month. Use the code WatchProgress1. You're going to get 50% off your first month on Demand Progress Plus, the home of Progress, Defy, and many more. One more time on that code. That's use WatchProgress1. That's 50% half off for those of you who prefer fractions like myself. Check it out. You're going to dig it. Probably more than we did those two matches we just broke down, but I assure you we have more topics today that we liked a little bit better, I hope. Let's talk about Mercedes Moné, the TBS title, and Chris Statlander. The CEO retains. Big time retains. Anthony, you've been pretty critical of the CEO's run, so I'm actually going to start with you. Let's just jump right back into the muddy river on this one. But we've got Moné and Statlander. We got a title defense. I thought this was a great match for Moné, and also, ironically, the longest women's match in the history of AEW. So that is cool to note. And I thought it was a job well done. Two absolute stars in their own right. This one is harder for me to be critical of than some of the other ones on the card. Are you in the same boat there?
No, I think it was a solid match. My criticism of Moné is mainly due to what I've heard over the years about her personality behind the scenes. I don't think she's that nice to fans. I have a problem with that, personally, as a fan. I do think she's overhyped. That too. But I thought the match was solid. My only real complaint is I don't know what character or what they're doing with Statlander. I think they just stick her in spots. And I don't know if they really have a direction on who's going to take this belt off of Moné, other than, I guess people are speculating possibly Thunder Rosa at All In, if they drag it out to give Thunder Rosa her title in front of her hometown. But as a whole, it was a decent match. I don't think it was as good as their last one. But yeah, it was solid.
Yeah, that's what's interesting to me, though, is I actually did think it was better than the last one, but only slightly. But I think they're razor thin. Statlander has been her best challenger, though. I would say. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah. I mean, the bar is not that high considering what they've done with it so far.
100%, and that's where Chaos. I want to ask you about that. Do you think this is Moné's best matchup she's had so far in AEW, and who do you see in the future, maybe as her potential next most important rivalry involving the TBS title?
Yeah, I feel like this was up with the last match of Stephanie Vaquer before she went to WWE. I thoroughly enjoyed that match, Forbidden Door. But yeah, this run has been nothing short but abysmal. The stuff with Brick House was absolutely ridiculous. Are you stupid or are you dumb? Like, what the get out of here. And yeah. Anyway,
question. Yeah.
It's like she's been listening to 6ix9ine too much. But anyway, this match was, I'd say it was just razor thin. I agree with you, Clark. That it was just a bit better than their first match, especially with the finish at the end as well. That flipping kitchen sink of a pin to get put down Chris Statlander really made her get into a second win to retain the championship. I thought really the way it was going, I thought Chris was going to pull it off, but yeah, no, they flipped it on us. Who is the next person? I'm sorry, but the division, while it's stacked, it hasn't. I still can't really. I don't really see a worthy contender of taking that title, especially with her winning this match in such a way. Besides maybe Willow. When she comes back, maybe she might be the next worthy person. But yeah, it's weird. They have enough people, but it just haven't been built up correctly and put into logical places. It may be Thunder Rosa, but I don't know if I want to see Mercedes Moné with the title all the way up until July. That's July we're talking. So yeah, I couldn't really say, to be honest.
I'm with you there. Willow makes the most logical sense to me, especially after last year. The year that not this whole year, but 23, 24, I would call it, like that season almost that she had. Willow Nightingale makes them to stand opposite Mercedes Moné, especially personality wise. I think you can get a lot of really good work out of both because of the juxtaposition of their personalities in general, right? Like they're so not the same at all, right? And so there's a story to be told there. But I also like the idea of Thunder Rosa too, maybe for because we talked about Thunder earlier in the show here ourselves, right? And you mentioned it yourself, Cass. Her best work was against Britt Baker, no question about it. And Britt Baker, we've seen on and off, but not much since she was at a run that felt like elevating, right? Like she was gonna elevate her career to another height. I'm wondering if the direct route to get back there is somehow you move Mercedes out of this TBS division after losing to Rosa, and you rerun this to sort of build the TBS belt with Britt. And that's how you get both back in the mix. Like before, you get Britt and Thunder back in the mix. That's why I might lean Thunder slightly, but I like the Willow idea too. This is is tough of a conversation, I think, as any. I mean, Anna Jay has challenged for 1,000 things. Someday we have to pull the trigger on pushing Anna Jay. I will say she's talented. There's no doubt about that. She's got a great look, and she's also been willing to play different roles at a really young age.
At this rate, I feel like Harley Cameron has a better chance than Anna Jay. To be fair,
but we know Anna Jay bell to bell can outwork.
Yeah, 100%. She's great, but it's not been portrayed correctly. That's what I'm saying. There's so many people that should be, but it's just the portrayal.
Even to your point about that jackknife cover, the roll up with all the the leverage use was so cool. I like the idea of keeping the TBS title as like the in-ring title. Like you're going to see the best bell-to-bell action around that title. I understand for a long time with Jade Cargill dominating the belt and the streak being the narrative of the belt, that's not what it was represented as. But I think now that's what it can be represented as for the women's division in AEW. And that's what we can do for the future of the belt to sort of solidify it and give it more of an identity than just it's named after the network that it's on. Yeah. And that is a complicated conversation, I think, when it comes to this. Coby, I obviously got to get your thoughts on Mercedes and everything involving that. What were your feelings after last night? What are your feelings headed into the future when it comes to the TBS? And also when it comes to Statlander, where does Stat go from here? Oh,
the host has muted my mic. What are you doing?
I'm really sorry. My trackpad
sabotaging me.
It's my trackpad. It's glitching again. It's my fault.
Just disgusting.
Happened on the comment earlier, dude.
I can tell you where Statlander's going, and that's probably making up with Willow, because they've already teased that, and they're gonna. And that's kind of what they did a few weeks ago, and I think that's genuinely where they're gonna go. They're gonna do some weird stuff there. I think there's notes to what was said, because Statlander was able to get a video, like not a WWE.com exclusive, but like a social media exclusive, where she said, "What good is it if I keep losing? If keep losing in good matches, it's time to be great." And I think they are. I think that plants the seeds, but I don't know if they're going to water it. If I'm going to use that analogy, to me right now, after Full Gear and World's End, the person who should dethrone Mercedes Moné is Chris Statlander whenever you can get that done. I don't know when it happens. I don't know when it should happen, but I said Thunder Rosa 2 days ago in Texas for All In. Now I'm like, no, the Mercedes Moné's best challenger and the person she has the most chemistry with in AEW is Chris Statlander. That's the one who genuinely has to be elevated by taking that loss, or by taking these losses, and has been elevated, because it hasn't been back-to-back pay-per-views, but it's been All Out and then Full Gear and World's End, where we're walking away from this saying Chris Statlander's damn good, and Chris Statlander deserves better. And at this point, I mean, she deserves better booking than acting like Stokely Hathaway was the one to convince her to turn on Willow. That's dumb booking. But to me, this proved it. She's damn talented. And I really liked the seatbelt finish. It worked. They really created a narrative with this match with Monet trash talking and degrading her. You can't beat me. You'll never beat me.
Yeah.
And Monet was proven right. I think they've planted enough seeds to set up Statlander versus Monet 3, where Statlander does overcome it, but I don't think they're going to water it.
And you made a really great point about the seatbelt and all of that too, because you know what it reminds me of a little bit is like, you and I are both UFC fans, right? John Jones is not going to go out there and one shot KO a guy with a right hand, right? That's not his MO. But he might hit a spinning back kick or something special. He might catch you in a guillotine on the ground early and win dominantly, and he wins dominantly all the time. Monet gave a little bit of that in the bullying. Like, I'm so much better than you. You can give me your best, and I'm going to out scheme you. I'm going to outsmart you. I'm going to outthink you in the ring, right? I'm going to be one step ahead. And if we can lean into that more with the CEO, I think that is a cool direction you can go with Monet. And I think
always better.
Yes, exactly. Like I'm just smart enough to scout you. I'm one step ahead. So I'm going to beat you and you won't know how, right? I'm going to do something different. It doesn't matter what it is. I like that.
It is almost a parallel to what Gunther is.
Yes.
Gunther can finish you with anything.
Right.
Even Dan sleeper, Boston Crab.
Boom.
I don't know what else he's used. The Michinoku driver, or the Emerald Flosion, like
the splash, all of it.
Spots. Exactly. And I think that's almost what Monet should be doing, because the Monet maker's not good. It doesn't look good. There's a few.
The bank statement. It's just a crossface. I made a joke about it last night. It's just a crossface.
No, the money maker's the gory special.
That's the gory special.
She never.
Yeah, what are they calling the bank statement? Because that one bugs me to death.
I actually don't even know.
It's just a crossface, and it has been the whole time.
I mean, honestly, if they wanted to go shock value, in all seriousness, have Monet do an open challenge. Have the one person that's the most dominant champion in wrestling that no one's paying any attention to, Athena, challenge her and beat her.
I'd be all over
and
that.
then you could do you could do Athena and Thunder Rosa in Texas, two people from Texas battling for the TBS.
Boom.
You can move Monet up, you could do stuff like that, and it gets Athena out of the basement that is Ring of Honor.
I'm all over that. That is a great call, Anthony. I'm glad you threw that in, because I was about to actually move on to the next segment, but like we needed that one. Okay.
Sorry.
This is John Moxley. He wrestled against 3 absolute all-stars. 1 Hangman Page, who's just wallowing at this point. I loved the character work early. I liked the music change early. We need Ghost Town Triumph back and some cowboy SHIT for everybody involved. Just like stop it with Hangman. Like, let's figure. We get it. He went manic. He's upset still after the swerve thing. Someone needs to snap him out of it. And let's get Hangman, the actual cowboy, back. Right? Like anything but what we're getting right there. And then Jay White looked great, as always.
Jay White looks like the New Japan Jay White. So yes.
And then
Orange is still in his hands in his pockets. Yeah. Yes.
Orange was great. I had no problem with it. I thought this was one of Orange's better matches.
Yes.
In all of AEW. I thought Orange, actually, of the 4, stood out to me as the best performer in the context of the match itself. I have complaints about how we got there, about how we ended up with the Fatal 4-Way, about how the match ended up going. But Orange Cassidy stood out as the most entertaining character in the match. And I like the idea of he went to the black jeans and the black jean jacket because he's more serious and he's doing all of that. It's different. He changed up the vibes.
That's his Sting face paint. That's his Sting crow.
That's important, I think. There's a lot of... We'll get into the post-match shenanigans here eventually. But during this match, there was a lot of weird stuff. I mean, you start with the briefcase getting stuck to the ropes. Come on. Like, are you kidding? That is one of the worst. Like, what? I got to give big ups to Marina Shafir for ripping him open. I'm pretty sure she broke the bottom cuff to get the briefcase off of him. That wasn't intentional. It was supposed to stay on the handcuffs. She broke the handcuffs to get it off just to start the match. Like, it started that way. I don't know, because the other thing is, so we'll talk about the post thing next. Talk about the match itself first, out of the gates for me, Anthony. Help me out with this. What do you got? Anything?
I mean, listen, it was very, the whole storyline's convoluted anyway, and I've said this multiple times. They're taking over, but there's no authority figure to go up against. It's the weirdest takeover in the company other than the Elite one that they did earlier this year. But as a whole, the talent was certainly there, but the match itself, I don't think delivered. It's supposed to be no disqualification, no count out. Meanwhile, security is taking out members of the Death Riders. The finish was kind of lukewarm. I don't know where they're going with this other than possibly Darby and Mox it all in. I'm assuming that's the direction they're going to go. And at some point, Christian's probably going to cash in on Darby would be my guess. I thought it was the weakest thing to end the pay-per-view on as a whole.
Yeah. I'm just
match-wise, and then we'll get into the other. Do you want me to cover the other stuff?
No, I'm going to go to Coby, and then we'll get to Chaos, and then we'll finish the show with the conversation about the rest of it. Coby, obviously, you rating the match and everything. There was some weird stuff, whether it be the Shafir stuff, the referee counting, and things like. I mean, there was some funk. Obviously, we have the firm rule on not giving the number, but dude, that had to deeply affect the rating on this match, right? This had to be arguably one of the most difficult ones to rate on the show. I can only imagine.
Yeah, the thing is this is a fatal 4-way. We know what a fatal 4-way is. We know it has no disqualifications. We know it has no countouts. We know, unless otherwise specified, is one fall to a finish. And I think the biggest thing to me is two things stood out. We had especially Shivani going, Moxley retains if they end in a countout. There's no countouts in a fatal 4-way. At least there shouldn't be. You've had past 4-ways, and now it's like, now you're gonna give us rules that you've never followed since day one. Like, it makes no sense. They have singles matches that have no DQ anyway, because they'll do a table spot for no reason. We saw it with the Continental Classic. And then, like I said, it's a fatal 4-way that's no disqualification. Yeah. Why are security taking out the Death Riders? They have no obligation to do that. It's no disqualification. They don't need to be removed from the scene. Yes, that muckies it if it's a 20-minute match with Yuta and Swissman Claudio doing spots and dominating, and it turning into some form of a 6-man tag match under 4-way rules. Like, yes, that would have muckied it, but I think this was the match that went, it left way more to be desired. Because I sat there and I was not satisfied with this match. I loved the Blade Runner. It didn't feel like a main event. It didn't.
How good was the security when Yuta got away from them and came back?
That's the thing. I think I like the Shield triple power bomb to call back to the Shield. But the weirdest thing is we have two narratives running. We have the narrative of, people need to get this title off of Jon Moxley. That's the narrative because he's trying to do this takeover. We want to get the title off of him because that's kind of his thing of power, which, keep in mind, the only angle that resembled a takeover happened on the final Rampage ever, when Jon Moxley cut the feed.
Okay.
And then the other narrative is, now each of them want the belt. So they were going to stick to one narrative. Had to happen.
Let's really break this down too, because it gets even funkier from here. You would think after all this dominance, all this stuff they've done, he gets the victory that at the end that maybe they would stand tall, but not the case. We get the return of Adam Copeland. And trust me, if you are in a stable that has a 3-letter acronym for its name, he'll team with you. whether it's rated RKO or rated FTR or whatever, you can get Edge.
NC.
It seems like arguably on the cheap. I'm kidding. I love Edge. A huge Adam Copeland fan. It was cool to see him return, and I love hearing the music as always. But so now we've got rated FTR. Awesome. We're going to Asheville, North Carolina. Same time. It's 5-on-3, is it not? Am I wrong? They're still at the numbers disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
Like they still can't win the numbers game.
Where did Pac come?
I mean, he's injured, but he'll be around.
Again?
He still exists.
Damn it, Pac.
Well, that's why we're getting a trios match against 2/3 of the trios champions and John Moxley, not Pac, against FTR for. Is this a qualifier for the? So here's what I'm wondering: is if Mox's side wins, do they get a shot at the trios title just against Pac 3-on-1? How do we do this?
If they kick him out,
I mean. I'm confused. Or do we do Pac and Shafir Freebirds rule? I don't know. Chaos, figure that one out for me. And how many times can we bring Adam Copeland back by shutting the lights out at the end of a pay-per-view and still get cheers?
Oh, my head hurts. This is just this is more convoluted than it needs to be. I am so tired of people trying to make me care about the Death Riders. This is perfect reason why they are just ass. They are up there with Retribution. I don't know which one's worse, all these fake ass takeovers, and they're just trying to murder the wrestlers more than trying to take over this company, and there needs to be change. I'm sick and tired of them. Someone needs to literally obliterate John Moxley and the rest of his little sheep. And yeah, just end this convolutedness. I don't know what it is. Like, what is this, the convolution era regarding the AEW? They're doing this, and then MJF and Adam Cole, and it's to the point where even Soul ain't even acknowledging this on the show. Like anytime we talk about the Death Riders, he just brings up about Mariah May or something else that is otherness, because even he can't defend this. That just shows how much tripe this was. The best part was obviously Marina Shafir getting a Blade Runner, and that's all I can remember from this. It was absolutely just absolute asinine stuff. I just want this to be over with. But it looks like it's not going to be for a long time. Just the only way they could save this is that I actually want Shane O'Mac to actually show up and be the overall head honcho, the final boss of this Death Riders thing, to make this even more palatable. Because right now, I just don't give a crap. Can we just? I mean, I'm sorry.
It's bad. I'm so with you, Chaos. Because here's the problem: you can't give us a storyline that makes us feel like there's going to be a big reveal, and just let us sit on the big reveal for this long. Like, even if there is a big reveal right now, I don't want it as bad as I did a month ago when I was like, what's the big reveal? Like, right? Like, hit us with the good one.
I mean, like you said, the numbers don't match. It's 5-on-3.
Yeah.
The funny thing is they kept advertising World's End with the video of the Death Riders in the desert, and it kept ending with Moxley holding up a flare. We know what a flare is for. It's the signal for help.
The funniest part for me is I thought it was like a.
So who the heck is coming? If you're advertising World's End, someone coming.
That is your point.
No one comes.
Is spot on, Coby, because they even tried to call it a stick of dynamite, and I'm like, that's a road flare.
It was a flare.
I mean, listen.
Like, that was my reaction.
He was holding up.
They tried to call it a stick of dynamite. They're like, holding a stick of dynamite is like, no, that's just a road flare. Like, there was a car accident on the 5 freeway.
Dynamite, you're not holding.
Southbound, and then the right lane's closed.
You're not.
Well, you are if you want to lose some fingers.
Yeah. It was a flare.
See, here's the problem with all of this. And this is the same problem they had with the Elite Takeover storyline. If you don't have an antagonist to go against, it's not going to work. The NWO worked because they had Sting going against them. Austin McMahon worked because there was a yin to a yang.
DDP.
Yeah,
they had
but Sting was the synonymous, the Starrcade and all that.
The main one.
Yeah, but you had antagonists to go against. What they're doing is putting together job squads for Moxley's group to go over, because no one believes.
I mean, at least Copeland and FTR though are like.
But to take over a company, if the only two people in that company, other than the Dark Order, is going against them, is Orange Cassidy and Darby. No one's believing that. You're telling me Tony Khan sitting in the back and has no problem with his company getting taken over? Like none of that makes any sense. That's what hurts this story,
and that's where
why it doesn't work. FTR and Copeland could work. I think the best part of that, what saved it, was that camera shot to Christian because he had that annoyed look.
Oh, it was great.
But then they crapped the bed again because they gave Copeland a microphone and it wasn't hot. How do you do that? It's your big reveal moment and he doesn't have a working mic. How does this happen in this company?
The line was good. The line was
not
good.
to mention,
the line was good though.
My biggest thought though, even after watching it, because I tried to stay in the moment, and like you, I saw the Christian shot. I'm like, oh, that's excellent.
Yeah, you and I
really love that and all that. I thought the big thing would be we really advance the ethos of the Death Riders.
Yeah.
And that's not what we did. We just provided a new opponent.
One last thing. What was the point of hooking another skybox? He's feuding with Christian, but he can't go over there, but he had played no role in any of it. What was that point?
That was kind of interesting.
But... I mean, maybe we get footage. Well, this would require them thinking ahead.
Maybe it was like a birthday gift.
But we saw Christian and the patriarchy leave the skybox. So what if the footage on Dynamite is Hook beating them up? And
that'd be fun. Okay, you know what, Coby? If they do pull that, Coby, no, that's a great call though. I don't see it either, but if they did pull that, I'm cool with that.
They just did that
smart,
like 2
but
weeks
I don't
ago
see it.
On Dynamite. Did they not? He broke into
similar.
a skybox.
Yeah, they did a similar spot. Yeah.
But if Christian leaves the skybox willingly and Hook's there, there we go.
Absolutely.
It would be smart, but I don't see it happening.
We could probably levy even a few more very nuanced complaints about this match, but I do think that probably brings us to the end of the show, my friends. It's been an absolute blast. Thank you, everybody that tuned in. Massive thumbs up and like and subscribe if you haven't already. We really appreciate it. Have the happiest New Year's and happiest holidays. On behalf of all of us here at WR, me, Clark, Anthony, Coby, Chaos, all of us, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, we'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. That's, of course, noon Pacific. That's 3 in the East, 8 o'clock in the UK, and that's 9 a.m. in Hawaii. Have an awesome one. We will talk to y'all soon.